Welcome back, everybody, to the Minecraft Short Stories podcast. This is episode 80, which is cool because we have another multiple of 10 episodes. And in this episode, I will be telling two listener stories. The first one is called Echoes of the Past. It's by Sophia. And the second one is How Netherite Became So Scarce, and that is by Josh. Thank you guys for submitting these stories. And if you, the listener, have a story to submit, go to minecraftshortstories.com, which is this podcast website. You can then go to the submit a story page, just fill out the form with your story and your username or name, and then it may get read on the show. Anyways, thank you, Sophia and Josh, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Echoes of the Past by Sophia. Long before the rise of the players, the overworld belonged to a mysterious and powerful civilization known as the Zyphlites. These beings were not like anything seen in the world today. They could communicate effortlessly over vast distances, as though their voices were linked by invisible threads. They were also vastly more intelligent than any of the other mobs, such as the pillagers or villagers. This easy communication and advanced intelligence allowed them to thrive for thousands of years, building cities, towers, and secrets that stretched from the depths of the Nether to the far reaches of the End. The Zyphlites lived in harmony with the world, careful not to overreach. Though powerful, they valued peace and balance. The society coexisted with villagers, who occupied the open plains. A mutual agreement kept the two civilizations at peace. The Zyphlites stayed away from the plains, and in return, the villagers would not venture near Zyphlite strongholds or cities. For ages, the Zyphlites had traveled to the End through the usage of the End portals, gateways to a place of infinite strangeness, where shulkers, endermen, and chorus fruit existed beyond comprehension. These portals were kept hidden, guarded by the most trusted of their leaders. The Zyphlites also delved into the fiery depths of the Nether, harvesting its resources and unlocking its secrets, though they feared its corruption. Then, they came up from the ground. Players. The Zyphlites called them the Ground Diggers. Small, unremarkable at first, they emerged from their caves and spread across the land. For a time, the Zyphlites observed them curiously, unsure whether to view them as a threat or a fleeting nuisance. But they grew bold, spreading to the plains and the forests, hungering for land and resources. The peace agreements with the villagers faltered as the Ground Diggers expanded their exploitation. The Zyphlite leaders realized the danger too late. When whispers of a stolen enchanting table and violence began to circulate, and by that time the Zyphlites realized it was already too late. A ground digger had killed one of the wandering Zyphlites after they had come a little too close to one of the ground diggers' camps. Their cries heard all throughout the world. This was the breaking point. First, these strange people had come up from the ground and started destroying the land, harvesting their resources far too fast. Then they start to steal from the Zyphlites themselves, and now they have killed one. This is dangerous. The Zyphlites decide to try and ask the Ground Diggers to stop causing chaos. That only provoked them further. And then they declared war. One leader ordered that all end portals be sealed. The ender eyes powering these portals were destroyed or hidden away, scattered across the world to prevent the Ground Diggers from gaining access to the end's power. But the Zyphlites' precautions came too late. The Ground Diggers turned their newly upgraded weapons against the Zyphlites. With iron and fire, they swarmed the Zyphlite strongholds, cities and towers, leaving ruins in their wake. Worse still, they uncovered the secrets of the Nether. Combining the Nether's withering effects with their arrows, they created weapons that even the Zyphlites' ancient healing could not counter. One by one, the Zyphlite cities fell, and their voices, once carried on the wind, fell silent. Now, only fragments of this once great nation remain. Atop a large mountain lies a giant tower. Its once bright cyan and gray flag now flies half destroyed, barely hanging onto its pole. And hidden in a shallow cave lies the remain of a Zyphlite that had escaped only to be shot by a withered arrow. And at the center of the world, a single enchanting table, said to be the only thing left of the Zyphlites. Merely an echo of this now forgotten people. The end. Thank you, Sophia. And the second story for this episode is by Josh. It is How Netherites Became So Scarce. Chapter 1. The discovery of netherite. 3 years before the Big War, something huge happened in the Nether. A Piglin scout named Lothric went deeper into the Nether than any Piglin had gone before. He was looking for gold, which was common in the Nether, but he found something much more exciting. Deep in the dark caves, shining in a strange way, he found a block that glowed faintly with gold running through it. It was different from anything he had ever seen. Lothric carried the strange block back to the village, and the elders were amazed. This was netherite, a metal that had been lost for ages. It was stronger than anything the Piglins had ever used. Unlike gold, which was soft and broke easily, netherite was incredibly strong and could be used to make weapons, armor, and tools that were nearly unbreakable. The Piglins quickly realized how valuable netherite could be. With it, they could create weapons and armor far stronger than gold. They could finally conquer the overworld, a place they had always dreamed of controlling but had never been able to reach. Gold was easy to get, but netherite was rare and powerful. The Piglins began to mine it in secret, working quickly to gather as much as they could before anyone else could find it. Chapter 2. The War Plans. As the Piglins started collecting more and more netherite, a leader named Kurog saw an opportunity. Kurog was a ruthless warlord who wanted nothing more than to rule the overworld. With the power of netherite, he believed his army could crush anyone who stood in their way. Kurog called together his generals, including Lothric, who had led the first mining expedition. They started working on a plan. They would build powerful weapons and armor made of netherite, then march through the nether portals to invade the overworld. The Piglins had always been limited to the nether, but with netherite, they could conquer the villages and the cities of the overworld. They worked day and night, crafting swords, axes, and armor that would make them nearly invincible. The Piglins built new war machines and reforged their strongholds. They were ready. The Piglins didn't just want gold anymore, they wanted control. The war was coming. Chapter 3. The War of Emberforge. The Piglins' first attack came quickly. They opened a portal into the overworld and marched towards a small village called Emberforge. The villagers had no chance. The Piglins wore shining netherite armor and carried swords that could slice through iron like butter. The villagers tried to fight back with their iron swords and bows, but they were no match for the Piglins' strength. Lothric led the first wave, cutting through the villagers' defenses with his huge netherite axe. The battle was over in minutes. The Piglins took prisoners and looted the village. The overworld had never seen an attack like this before. The Piglins, armed with the strongest materials the world had ever known, were unstoppable. The Piglins didn't stop there. They attacked more villages, cities, and towns across the overworld. They were quick, powerful, and ruthless. Soon the overworld began to panic. The Piglins were everywhere, and their netherite weapons made them nearly unbeatable. But the overworld wasn't going to give up so easily. Slowly, they began to regroup. Heroes from all over the world, warriors, archers, and mages, came together to fight the Piglins. The overworld had underestimated the Piglins' power at first, but now they were ready. The tide of the war began to turn. The Piglins were strong, but they were also overconfident. They thought nothing could stop them. But as the overworld's heroes fought back, the Piglins' supplies started to dwindle. Their supply of netherite was running low, and without it, their weapons and armor became weaker. Chapter 4. The End of the War. The final battle took place in the heart of the Piglin stronghold. The heroes of the overworld launched a surprise attack, catching Kurog and his generals off guard. With the Piglins' leadership gone, their armies started to fall apart. They had lost their strongest weapons and their leader. The overworld's heroes pushed the Piglins back into the nether. The war was over. The overworld had been won, but at a great cost. Many villages had been destroyed and many lives had been lost. The Piglins, however, were defeated. They returned to their caves and fortresses in the nether, nursing their wounds and licking their pride. Kurog was gone, and so was their dream of ruling the overworld. Chapter 5. The Forgotten Netherite. After the war, the Piglins didn't care much about netherite anymore. Sure, it had been powerful, but it was also hard to find and difficult to mine. The overworld had learned to forge some of their own netherite weapons, and so the Piglins couldn't keep up with the demand. Gold, on the other hand, was everywhere in the nether. It was easy to mine, and the Piglins had always known how to work with it. It was softer than netherite, but it was plentiful. The piglins decided that gold was more important. They didn't need netherite anymore to get what they wanted. The great treasure that had once seemed so important became just another material they used for crafting. They didn't bother to mine more netherite, and the weapons and armors they had forged with it were forgotten, gathering dust in the deepest corners of their strongholds. The war for netherite was over, and the piglins returned to their old ways, content with the gold they had always relied on. In the end, the piglins learned that gold was easier to get and much less trouble than netherite. The great metal that had once promised them power was now just another part of the nether, left behind by the piglins in favor of the treasures they could easily find. The war was over, and the piglins were back to where they started, mining gold, building their strongholds, and dreaming of the next battle. But this time they weren't worried about netherite. They had everything they needed in the familiar, glittering glow of gold. The end. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Josh and Sophia, for submitting these awesome stories. They were fun to read. They're well written. Thank you guys for submitting these. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to leave a review if you want. If you're on Spotify, you can comment on this episode. Tell me what you think. Tell me what I can improve on. Tell me what you liked about it. Anyways, see you guys inside the next episode.